Once upon a time, in a distant land, there lived a merchant who had a daughter named Vasilisa. She was a girl of unparalleled beauty, with golden hair that shimmered like the sun, eyes as blue as the sky, and a heart as pure as a crystal-clear stream. But what made her truly special was not just her beauty, it was her kindness, wisdom, and courage. Her mother adored her, but fate was cruel, and when Vasilisa was still young, her mother fell gravely ill. Before passing away, her mother gave Vasilisa a small wooden doll, intricately carved and painted, with bright eyes that seemed almost alive. "Keep this doll with you always, my dearest child," she whispered. "Whenever you are in trouble, feed it a little food, and it will help you in any way it can." With those words, her mother closed her eyes and left this world, leaving Vasilisa heartbroken but comforted by the mysterious gift. Time passed, and Vasilisa's father, unwilling to raise his daughter alone, remarried a widow with 2 daughters of her own. However, this woman was cruel and jealous. She and her daughters despised Vasilisa's beauty and kindness, and when the merchant had to leave on a long journey, the stepmother revealed her true nature. She forced Vasilisa to do all the household chores, cooking, cleaning, spinning, and fetching water, while her own daughters idled away their time, mocking and tormenting her. But no matter how hard the work, Vasilisa never despaired, for she had her little doll. Each night, she would give the doll a morsel of bread, and in return, it would whisper words of comfort and even complete her chores while she slept. Years passed, and Vasilisa grew into a young woman whose beauty only increased. Much to the fury of her stepmother and stepsisters, they devised a wicked plan to rid themselves of her once and for all. One evening, as winter approached and the nights grew long, the stepmother extinguished every candle in the house. "Vasilisa, we have no light," she said cruelly. "Go to the hut of Baba Yaga, deep in the forest, and ask her for fire." Vasilisa knew a Baba Yaga, the fearsome witch who lived in a house that stood on chicken legs and ate those who dared to approach uninvited. But she had no choice. Clutching her doll tightly, she set off into the dark, eerie forest. The trees whispered, and strange shadows flickered between the trunks. But the doll, warm in her hands, guided her. After a long journey, Vasilisa reached Baba Yaga's hut, which indeed stood on enormous chicken legs. It turned and spun as if it had a life of its own. A fence of human bones surrounded it, and skulls with glowing eyes sat atop the posts, casting an eerie light. Baba Yaga emerged, tall and haggard, with a hooked nose, iron teeth, and wild, tangled hair. She sniffed the air and scowled. "Who dares to come to my home?" she demanded. Trembling, Vasilisa replied, "It is I, grandmother. My stepmother sent me to ask you for fire." Baba Yaga cackled. "Fire, you say? I do not give something for nothing. You must work for me first. If you can complete the tasks I set for you, I will give you fire. If you fail, you will be my supper for 3 nights. Baba Yaga gave Vasilisa impossible tasks, separating poppy seeds from dirt, spinning vast amounts of thread, and cleaning the entire house. But each night, when Vasilisa secretly fed her doll a little food, it would whisper, "Sleep, dear Vasilisa, I will do the work for you." And by morning, the tasks were miraculously completed. Baba Yaga was surprised but said nothing. On the 4th day, she allowed Vasilisa to ask her questions. "Grandmother," Vasilisa ventured, "why does your fence shine so brightly?" Baba Yaga grinned, showing her iron teeth. "Those are the skulls of those who failed my tasks." Vasilisa shuddered but remained polite. "Grandmother, may I ask one more question?" Baba Yaga narrowed her eyes. "Speak, squirrel. Why do you fly in a mortar and drive it with a pestle?" Baba Yaga let out a roaring laugh. "Because I can." Then she sniffed the air and scowled. "You are too well-mannered, too pure. Tell me, child, how have you completed my tasks so easily?" Vasilisa hesitated but then answered truthfully, "With my mother's blessing." At this, Baba Yaga shrieked in rage. "I do not tolerate blessed ones in my home. Take your fire and leave." She plucked a glowing skull from her fence and thrust it into Vasilisa's hands. "This will light your way home." Vasilisa ran back through the forest, the eerie skull lighting her path. When she reached her house, she found her stepmother and stepsisters cowering in darkness. "Where have you been?" they shrieked. But as soon as the skull's fire entered the house, it glowed brighter and brighter, until it burned the stepmother and stepsisters to ashes. Freed at last, Vasilisa buried the skull in the earth and went to live with a kind old woman in the village. There, she wove the finest linen, so delicate it could pass through a needle's eye. She made a beautiful shirt and gifted it to the Tsar himself. Impressed by her skill and beauty, the Tsar sought her out, and when he beheld her, he fell deeply in love. Soon after, Vasilisa and the Tsar were married in a grand celebration. And as for the little wooden doll, it remained with Vasilisa, a cherished reminder of her mother's love. and the magic that had guided her through the darkest times. And so, Vasilisa the Beautiful lived happily ever after, forever blessed by the kindness and wisdom that had seen her through her trials. Happy ending.